Jai Bhagwan, and good morning. Welcome to Bhakti House. Going to need to stay right on track this morning. I have an 8:30 appointment, so we'll see how well that goes. So, oh, look at there. I'm nowhere to be seen. There we go. So, let's chant the Asatoma prayer. If it's available, let the eyes remain closed. What does this chant mean? It means lead me from the unreal to the real. Lead me from darkness to light. Lead me from a time-bound consciousness to a timeless state of being. It recognizes that I am and that you are the true Guru who creates, sustains, and transforms everything that we experience. We do not create the circumstances, but we create what those circumstances mean, the experience. And this Guru is the Supreme Absolute. It's everywhere, within everyone, not just within everyone. It is. You are that. I am that. Everyone. Om represents everything, and we'll talk about that today. Shanti means peace. Everything can be used to create peace. Some things are easier to create peace from than others. As you inhale, bring the hands up to prayer position, and exhale, let the eyes open. And again, Jai Bhagwan. Jai Bhagwan literally means victory to the divine. But this is not someone or something that's outside of us. You are that divine. You are that true guru. We often say that Jai Bhagwan means victory to the light, because when people first meet with someone from this tradition, and you say, victory to the divine, it can be a little bit overwhelming at first. People are a little more open to light and being light. Maybe they may have a little bit of doubt about their being the divine. So today we're going to look at Sutras 23 through 29, which tie into everything that was just said. Let's just read through these. Ishvara Pranidhanava, where the state of yoga is attained by complete, instant, dynamic, energetic, and vigilant surrender of the ego principle to the omnipresent, ever-existent reality, or God, the divine. This is instant realization of God as the one reality when the quest of self-knowledge meets its counterpart. When what is looking for this self-knowledge meets its counterpart, ignorance, and stands bewildered in choiceless encounter. And when the ego-ignorance phantom instantly collapses, when we recognize, I am that. Klesha Karma Vipaka, I'm just going to let go of the Sanskrit this morning. Who is God? 24. Who is God? That unique, indwelling omnipresence, it's everywhere, that is never tainted nor touched by the ground of actions and their reactions, which afflict ignorant individuals. That which is left over after the ego-ignorance collapse. That special inner ruler or intelligence which is unconditioned by time and whose will alone prevails even in the body. In it there is oneness, never divided. It is therefore beyond ignorance and its progeny. Lead me from the unreal to the real. The unreal being the ignorance of I am this personality. Lead me from darkness to light, seeing things as they really are, seeing the self as it really is, or rather seeing the self as you. Lead me from time-bound consciousness to timeless state of being. Being in the zone, as it were. Whatever's left over as that ego-ignorance collapses. The mind is empty. What's observing the mind? What is observing that emptiness? That is the leftover, the thing that cannot be gotten rid of because it's not a thing. It is what is conscious. You are that which is conscious. In that, God, or surrender to God, meaning this self, this ever-present consciousness. In that surrender, there is the source of the highest and most excellent omniscience. For the self-limitation that is ignorance is dispelled by the removal of the ego-ignorance obstacle, where the omniscience in that is natural and arouses no wonder. When we're in that space of an empty mind and observing the empty mind, it's not very astounding. It's actually something we've experienced before. it feels familiar. It's only after, as we start to reflect back on it, we go, oh, that was very unique. That was something special, because we have not noticed it before, even though it has been present all along the way. 26, that omnipresent reality, both in its manifest and its unmanifest aspects, is the source of inspiration and intuitive enlightening experience of all the sages from beginningless time, for it is not conditioned or divided by time. The inner light is timeless. The enlightening experience is timeless, for time is thought, and thought is ignorance. He doesn't mean ignorance as in it makes you something stupid or dumb, or that you're ignoring something. Well, ignoring, yes. It means you're ignoring something, that you're not recognizing, oh, I am this consciousness. I'm not all the thoughts which parade through the mind. That indwelling, omnipresent soul reality, let's get to that in a second. Let's get to 27 in just a moment. So that's a lot of maybe a little bit hard to grasp concepts. Who or what is this omnipresent reality, this Ishvara? It's really easy to say, well, that's someone out there, that's something out there. That's God who's off in the clouds. That's Krishna who dwells on a different world. That's something far separate from what I am experiencing right now. And at times that may even be a beneficial way to look at this. But really what is being pointed to is you are an aspect of that divinity. You are a particle, an embodiment of that divinity. The Bible points to this, that Adam and Eve were created in God's image. And if they are created in God's image and we are their progeny, their descendants, then those images of God are walking around, are showing up and waving on your screen right now, is looking through your eyes to see this version, this image of God waving. That image of God is everywhere to be seen. This isn't just some idea that some far-off culture has necessarily. Many of you may very well be Christians. I grew up right here in the center of, Mormon country, the Latter-day Saints, and this is something that, as I've investigated, I see more and more and more. The image of God is everywhere. But how can we kind of get a first-hand experience of this? He gives us a little bit of a clue. In 24, he says, the unique indwelling omnipresence is God, that is never tainted nor touched by the grounds of actions and their reactions which afflict ignorant individuals, that is left over after the ego ignorance collapse. So if we could find some way to let go of everything we believe about ourselves for a moment, then we might be able to have an experience of this leftover. So, let your eyes close for a moment if that's available to you. And let's see if we can have some sort of experience that does this. So sit comfortably. It is critical that you be comfortable, crucial. Why? Because if you're not comfortable, your body's going to be giving you some aches and pains, and that's all you're going to be able to focus on. Be comfortable. Let the hands rest on knees or thighs. Begin breathing in and out through the nose as you close the eyes. And on the next exhale, imagine that there's an opening in the belly just above the navel. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the belly. As you exhale through the belly, imagine that you can now also inhale through the belly and begin to feel for any sensations around that opening at the belly. And if you're not sure that you're feeling any sensations there, just take 1 or 2 fingers, touch the belly where you've imagined this opening so you know where you're feeling this. And then let the hand return to knee or thigh, breathing in and out through the belly as you feel those sensations around the belly. As you exhale through the belly, imagine now an opening at the center of the chest. Inhale through the belly, and as you exhale, feel the breath rise up to the center of the chest, exiting the center of the chest. Inhale belly, and exhale chest. As you exhale through the chest, allow the opening at the belly to close. Inhale through the chest and exhale through the chest. Feel the sensations beginning to arise around the center of the chest. As you exhale through the chest, imagine now an opening in the center of each palm. Inhale through the chest, and as you exhale, feel the breath rise up to the shoulders, radiate down the arms, and out through the openings in the palms. Inhale chest, and exhale palms. As you exhale through the palms, allow the opening at the chest to close, and now inhale through the palms and exhale through the palms. Begin to feel the sensations showing up in the centers of the palms. On the next inhale, allow the hands to begin drifting up off of knees or thighs. And allow the palms to rotate so the hands are facing one another. And then very slowly allow the hands to begin moving toward each other. And as you recognize sensation between the hands, allow them to move apart. As you recognize sensation on the back of the hands, allow them to move toward one another. Now, if you're not sure that you're feeling sensation on the palms or on the back of the hands, allow the movement to stop and very gently move the hands back and forth just 1/8 of an inch. Begin to feel for sensation between the palms and on the back of the hands. And as you feel that sensation, allow them to move away from each other. Allow them to move toward each other, exploring the sensation between the hands and on the back of the hands. Now as you exhale, allow the hands to drift back down to knees or thighs. And notice how empty the mind is. Exhale through the palms. Allow those openings to close. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. Let the eyes open. Now, for many of you, when I asked you to look into the mind and notice how empty the mind was, it was empty, it was blank. For others of you, you looked into the mind and very quickly a thought popped up. And so you focused on the thought. But just reflect for a moment. You heard me say, notice how empty the mind is. You looked in the mind, it was empty, and a thought popped up. And your attention went to the thought. Just notice that empty space. Notice how empty the mind is. Very slight empty gap. Thought comes up. Focus on the empty gap. In that empty gap, were there any thoughts in the empty gap? No. Attention moved from focused on the hands to looking in the mind. Mind is empty, thought pops up, and it may have been that quick. But before that thought popped up, there were no thoughts. In that slice of empty, there were no things. You weren't thinking about your kitty or unicorns, because those would be thoughts. So in that slice, whether it's a little slice or was it big expanded time, no things, no thoughts or things. As you look into that little slice, you weren't aware of your age or your gender. If you were sitting comfortably, you weren't even aware of your body. You went from hands, nothing, thought pops up. And in that space of emptiness, that nothing, you weren't even aware of your own body. And as you start to reflect back on that space of that empty space when the mind was empty, does it feel like there's any edges to it? Even if it was very short, does it feel like there was edges to it? Or does it feel expansive? And it feels more expansive. And if you're not sure about any of these things, when we finish, go back and rewatch this part of the video. Or repeat this experiment, this exercise, and notice for yourself. So there was no thoughts, things, age, gender, body, or edges. When you look into that little slice, were you in there? And you may be going, I'm not sure. You were looking into the emptiness. You weren't in the emptiness. Your name was not in the emptiness. Your history was not in the emptiness. Your fears, your likes and dislikes, they were not in the emptiness. Everything was absent. It was empty. This unique indwelling omnipresence, which is that leftover after the ego ignorance collapse. All of the things you think of as yourself, thoughts, things, age, gender, body, your history, they were not present in that empty slice. And all that was left was this indwelling consciousness, the real you. There was nothing else. There was empty mind and consciousness looking into empty mind. And again, if you're having any difficulty recognizing that, when we finish, just rewatch this part of the video and follow along with my guidance again, all right? That omnipresent reality, not the empty mind, but the consciousness that you are that was watching the empty mind. that was actually watching the palms. It may have seemed like you just had hands out here and something was watching hands out here. What was watching the hands? It wasn't your history. You still weren't thinking about fears or any of those things. It was just watching hands. And then that attention shifted from watching and feeling hands to looking at an empty mind. That omnipresent reality, both in its manifest and unmanifest aspects, is the source of inspiration and intuitive enlightening experience of all the sages from beginningless time, for it is not conditioned by time. You may have no idea how long we were doing this. It was only 6 minutes. We've actually talked more about it than we spent doing this. That indwelling, this is 27, that indwelling omnipresent soul reality, you, the real you, is verbally alluded to as Om. So what is Om pointing to? It's not pointing to some external source. It's not pointing to some external thing. Om is pointing to this you that you are, this truth that you are, which is the ever-new and eternal cosmic sound that is heard in all natural phenomenon. Thunderclap, roaring of the ocean, wind rustling trees in the forest and the conflagration, and even in the reverberations of the musical instruments, the hum of engines and the distant din of the carnival crowd. How to utilize that Om in the adoration of God. Again, not something external. This is pointing to this internalness, this internal consciousness that is present here and on your chair. By repeating it, at the same time inquiring into it, contemplating and saturating the whole being with the substance indicated by it. I am that. Or said another way, I am Om. That is the reality or God, which is the real meaning of Om. When one repeats the Om in this manner, then the consciousness that is ordinarily scattered over the diversity, then this consciousness, which usually thinks it's all these crazy things going on in the mind, is gathered, concentrated, and turned inward. The spirit of inquiry into the substance of the Om dispels all the obstacles or distractions without necessarily wrestling or struggling with them. So, chanting Om, says Patanjali, points us toward consciousness. It doesn't matter whether we call it Christ consciousness or Krishna consciousness or Shiva consciousness. Consciousness that you are. The consciousness that is here is not different from the consciousness that appears to be there on your seat. That is the oneness that we recognize. That is the union we recognize through yoga. When you are chanting Om, that represents everything, it's representing consciousness that you are. Because the consciousness that you are is everything. You may think that this thing that's flapping its arms around right now is miles and miles away. But it isn't. Most likely it's in a little device that you're looking at. And where is the image from that little device actually occurring? You may say, well, it's occurring on this screen. It's not. The light from that screen is penetrating eyes, is going along an optic nerve, and is being generated somewhere within your skull. So where is this image really? It is within you. Where is every image you've ever seen? It is within you. Where is this image of God that everyone is created of? It is within you. Where is this consciousness that makes up all things? It is within you. Everything is within you. Om. All right, my friends. Let's chant Om and bring our time together this morning to a close. And reflect upon its meaning. Its meaning is an aid, as he said, it is an aid that dispels all the obstacles or distractions without necessarily wrestling or struggling with them. Let's chant the sound of Om together. Take a breath in. What does that beautiful sound and feeling of Om represent? It represents everything. It represents the divine. You are that. I am that. Om. As you inhale, bring the hands to prayer position. And as you exhale, let the eyes open. Jai Bhagwan. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning for morning sadhana. We'll focus on, well, I'm not sure yet. I think standing postures, maybe some balance postures. We'll see. Until then, Jai Bhagwan.